There we go. Okay. Now I'm ready. Listen, everyone, I do not want any of you to panic. I know it's just me here, and you're already probably freaking out because Vish is not here. Everyone should know at the outset that she's just fine. I mean, she's probably frustrated and tired, but she's still moving. So it is just me, and I can do this. I've done it before. I will do it again. What that does mean is that I am not going to be able to pay especially close attention to the chat. My mods, I'm going to depend on you to keep an eye on things. I mean, you guys always do such a great job moderating the chat, but just to sort of keep an eye open for interesting questions and comments, if you can just post those in the Discord so that there's less things that I miss, that would be great. But yeah, I was hoping that that Nitty was going to be able to join me today, and he might be able to still pop in. So we'll see if that happens. But be forewarned, there's a good chance that you're stuck with just me today, and for that, I'm sorry. But welcome to my channel, anyways. I'm Kip Davis. I'm a biblical scholar and a specialist in early Judaism and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Today is Friday, February the 27th. Tomorrow is the last day of February, which seems practically unbelievable. It's kind of insane that March is happening this weekend. Yeah, it's 2:00 in the afternoon here on the Pacific Coast, and I stream weekly at this time. So I will just let's take a look and say hi to some people in the chat. Nitty was here early. Lil, yes, we'll have to get Dag in his treats. You ready? You ready, buddy? Oh, here he comes. There he is. He's ready. Here you go. Do you want one? Yeah, it's good. Okay. All right. So there you have it. Good to see you, wannabe scholar. Cenk Iger is very excited for this. I'm excited for this too. It's going to be fun. My good friend Dave from Toast to Toast is here. Dave, let me know if you guys are streaming tonight. I haven't been paying a ton of attention because it's been a busy day, but I didn't see anything before the show. Good to see Chrissy is here wielding the banhammer in Vish's absence. She'll be happy about that. And oh, well, I guess whatever I can do to help with your boredom, I'm happy to. Good to see you, Bitcores. And no, there were people here after you. Yeah, and I hadn't gotten here yet. So noise ending was not here yet either, but I hope is now. I was never here is here. Arrow Dodger is here, and is apparently yelling at Gavin because Gavin ate his homework. Shalom to Simone. And make the god. Yes, that's what we're here for. We're here to make the gods great again, to give them their proper due, because they oftentimes just don't get it. The weirdo CK Evan is here, Katie Lewis is here, and is radioactive. Kyle Axington is here, the real Melly is here. Plated Lizard, hello, just in time for my afternoon walk. Excellent. Glad to have you here, and enjoy listening while walking. Vegan Dagan, hell yeah, it's fucking Bible time. Tad is mad. Oh, sorry, no, that's Tree Clam Tad now for $2. Texted in to say, no, Vish, I want my money back. I guess there's ways to do it. I know of creators who have refunded money in the past, But look at me. This is above my pay grade. What do you expect me to do about it? And I've got another one here from Dave. He says, I need some comforting giant talk after last Sunday. Yeah, should we talk a little bit about last Sunday, which was really quite terrible? I have mixed feelings about this, in large part because it's never good for Canada to lose the gold medal game. Mind you, it hasn't happened in a very long time. It hasn't happened since 2006, and well, it wasn't even the gold medal game. They didn't even make it to the medal round. Neither Canada nor the U.S. did. So that was, it's been a very, very long time. So when it doesn't happen, it's always pretty bad for the Canadian men to lose. And this year was odd as well because the Canadian women lost in the gold medal game for the first time, I think in over 20 years. So maybe even longer. I don't know. It's been a long, long time. So so that was no good. And then so that made me feel sad. It made me feel bad. However, I will say I felt a little bit better seeing the American team skate around the ice right away after they had won with Johnny Gaudreau's jersey, and to see the Gaudreau family in the audience. I thought that was a very nice touch. They kind of ruined all of that afterwards, and I think there's some comeuppance now as a result of that. But I have some more thoughts on that, and maybe that's where we're going to start today. I just wanted to start with this, and to say as well, I'm happy that in this country, even though there's plenty of things that the government and the media get wrong all the goddamn time, sometimes they get it right. So I'm just gonna play this.
We're gonna have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
The gold medalists also addressed a controversial phone call from President Trump following their win.
So then why would you laugh when they got invited?
I mean, I don't really have an answer. Honestly, it was just a whirlwind of a moment that, like, you can't really control what somebody says, and it just, I guess, caught off guard a little bit. But I mean, when you're talking to the president 10 minutes after you just achieve your dream, it's just the fact that you're talking to him.
Yeah.
I think
All right. Yeah. Sure. Brady Kachuk caught off guard. In the moment. Yeah, but this is just lame excusegetics that we commonly see. It's just an attempt to sidestep your own bad behavior. And you know what? Good on you, CBC, for holding these guys to account. You guys are going to come and play hockey in my country and disrespect women and disrespect the national team like that, then yeah, just fuck all the way off with that.
looking back at it now, I think it was a mistake, and
Yeah,
I think things got
so?
blown out of proportion a little bit.
Yeah.
We have nothing but the utmost respect for the women.
Sure,
With a little more than 20 games left.
sure. Yeah, right. Just nothing but respect for the women, right? Those assholes. Sure you do. Yeah, because that's what happens when you respect people. In the moment when you don't even know the camera's on, when you don't expect to be in the public eye, that's what respect says. Is stuff behind closed doors that you don't expect to be made public. Yeah, no, just fuck off with that, you guys. Just fuck right off with all of that. So yeah, that's that's all I have to say about that in the moment. Tree Clam, Tad, never ask an athlete you like their never, never. 100% true. At the end of the day, as much as I love professional hockey, hockey players are rich, spoiled jocks. Just as a rule, that's who they are. I, have no doubt that in real life, I've got nothing in common with these people. But that's where we're at. So, what is happening today? I had hoped, as I mentioned, to be here with Nitty, but I don't know. I just got a message from Dave letting me know that there is no toast to toast tonight. Paul apparently has a cold or flu that's been going around. Stay well, Paul. I hope you feel better. You know what you should do? You know what helps when you're sick is to tune in to my stream. It helps to make everybody feel better. It's the cure for the common cold. As far as I've been told, I'm pretty sure my doctor mentioned that to me. So that's good. But sadly, everyone, you're not going to be able to watch Toast to Toast tonight, which means the only other thing that's on for you to watch is the Q&A stream with the now disgraced Egyptologist, unfortunately. So there's that. After this stream, however, at 5 o'clock, and before the now disgraced Egyptologist stream, there will be another episode of Star Trek Endurance, and I believe we have a full crew, a full complement of players tonight, which will be fun. We'll be continuing the episode from last week. So I didn't set a redirect. I'm afraid you'll just have to find it on your own. But you guys have been around here a little bit. I'm sure you can figure it out and find your way over there after the show ends. So, oh yes, there we go. Ember's got a show happening as well. So there you go. But probably I don't think you're streaming until like the middle of the night though, Ember. As Paula Gia and Dave would be. So I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't usually go much past like 9 or 10 Eastern, as far as I'm aware. Kelly's doing a show tonight. So yeah, excellent. So tune into Detroit Atheist Queen tonight. There's some options. All right, don't listen to me. The Humanity is not doing a show tonight, so just ignore Tommy. He's got nothing especially interesting to contribute. So at least not now. Wednesday though, they're usually back on Wednesday. All right. So this last week, Nitty contacted me and said he wanted to do this video that we're going to look at today. And hey, look, Maddie's here. And I'll be back with Maddie later tonight on Dapper Dinosaur's alternate channel, Top Hats Off, for another episode of Star Trek Endurance. So Nitty brought this video from Gavin Ortlund over at Truth Unites. I mean, I technically I could say he's a friend of the channel. He and I have actually been on a stream together that was broadcasted on this channel, as well as a few others. But he published a video this last week all about a very cool topic. I think it's one that lots of people love discussing. It's nothing new, I don't think, for anyone. This question about who the Nephilim are in Genesis chapter 6. Nitty brought this video to my attention and said he really wants to do it. So we will. I told him, I said, listen, I'm still looking for something to do on Friday. It'd be cool if we could do it on Friday. He couldn't make it today, but what we're going to do is I'm going to do some stuff on this video today, and then this next week we'll do something together, Nitty and I, on his channel on this same video. So he's got lots of thoughts about angel sexy time. So I kind of want to be there for that. I've got some more technical things to get into today. Hey, it's nice to see. It feels like I haven't seen you around very much lately. Radim, I see that you are showing off baseball. No, this is not a baseball team shirt. This is my dude. This is my Iron Maiden shirt. This is my Made in England tour shirt from 2010. I think it was 2010. But yeah, no, that's or unless you're talking about the the I fucking love the Bible shirt is in the wash. So it's there. They won last night, by the way, which was pretty great. So yes, I see that now, Simone. He means on the chair. Thank you. So I got it eventually. So we're gonna look at this video from Gavin about the Nephilim. I have to say, I think it's I think he does a number of things pretty well, actually, in terms of his approach to the text and how to read it. One of the things that I'm going to be focusing in on today, however, is how much the Second Temple Jewish interpretation of this text informed Christianity and continues to inform Christianity. And it's unfortunate in that respect, because as a result, the original meaning of the text, the original intent and the worldview behind this story as it was told in the moment of its first telling is lost. And so we're going to be picking up on some of that today. Just give me a second. I have to pull this one up. Just me today, and it makes a difference on how this goes. So I don't have any slides today, but I will be I'll be showing text. I'll be using Safaria to show some text, and I've got some stuff from some digital resources that I can show today. We're going to talk about some Dead Sea Scrolls today, which is really exciting, and I've got some pictures of scrolls to show. So stick around. It's not just going to be me prattling on forever. Yeah. Let's start this video, and let's start with Gavin's discussion here. The title of his video is 7 Reasons the Nephilim Were Angelic. But I added the subtitle, but actually they were not angelic. The Nephilim were not angelic, and I will explain why. Please let me know if you can hear it when I start. It was doing a weird thing when I played the other video in my ears. I hope it sounded okay for everyone else, but please do let me know if there's any sound difficulties here.
Where the Bible isn't super clear, let's not draw a hard line in the sand
Okay.
and be super dogmatic about our view. But even just wrestling with this issue can helpfully remind us of the strange new world of the Bible. Sometimes we modern readers of the Bible flatten out the weird parts. And engaging this passage really matters because it invites us into the supernatural, mysterious world of Scripture. It's kind of a reminder that when we're reading the Bible, we're walking through the wardrobe into Narnia. you know? And so the question we're going to work through in this video is, who are the
It's an interesting image, stepping through the wardrobe and walking into Narnia. But easily, I think the best of C.S. Lewis's books was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But I mean, in many respects, he's not wrong. And it's one of the things that I remind students of all the time. I try to remind viewers of all the time. I try to remind readers all the time in the books that I've published, in case you had forgotten.
Kip Davis has written no.
So the world of the Bible is odd. It's uncomfortable. It's unexpected. It's in many respects absurd. It's in many ways something that's difficult for us from our modern vantage point, from the perspective of the 21st century, to really comprehend and even to get into the right mindset and view of the people who wrote and collected these texts thousands of years ago. So he's not wrong about that. I think he goes in some probably not the right directions, I don't think, as a result of that, but I want to give him some credit for at least this recognition of what a strange text this is, if we're only appraising it from our modern vantage point and our modern worldview. And I would also challenge that it can be very difficult for a layperson to even know how to enter into the mind of the ancient people as they explore these texts. So it's a decent start. Gavin, Chrissy for $2 says Magician's Nephew is best objectively. And I mean, who am I to argue, of course, with someone holding an English literature degree? So I shall defer, but yeah, let's continue, shall we?
these Nephilim? And that really turns on an even more basic question of who are the sons of God referenced in this text. So just to acclimatize you to the story, if you're not familiar, in Genesis 6:2, as humanity is spreading out through the land, we're told that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. So here we're asking the basic question of who are those sons of God? That's the question for this video.
I'm gonna pause it there. And I think maybe it's a good time right at the start to ponder this question just a little bit. First of all, let's take a look at the text here. I need to pull this up. See, this is the moment when if I was if Vish was here, then she'd be able to help distract a little bit while I'm doing this kind of nonsense. But we're gonna pull the text up here. I've got it on Safaria, and we're gonna read it all the way from verse 1, and we'll return to it a couple of times this afternoon as we go through it. I have the Hebrew and the English there. Hebrew students in the audience, please do your best paying attention to the Hebrew text as you are able. When humankind, this is the revised JPS translation from 2023. You can see it right up. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but you can see it right there listed at the top. When humankind began to increase on earth and daughters were born to them. This is literally ki hechel ha-adam, when the Adam, the man, began larov, to grow and number and to increase upon Pnei ha-adama, on the face of the ground. I usually like to translate Adama as the ground. It's working on this play on of words here between Adam and Adama. But in this context, and with the definite article there attached to Adam, this is not the personal name of the man that was created by Yahweh in Genesis chapter 2. This is now humankind. This is humanity as a collective. Verse 2. The divine beings, literally B'nai Ha Elohim, the sons of God, or the sons of the gods, and I can talk a little bit about that here shortly. They saw how pleasing the human women were and took wives, took women from among those who delighted them, from among whomever they chose, I would say is a more literal translation here. And Yahweh said, my breath shall not abide in humankind forever, since it too is flesh. Let the days allowed them be 120 years. Verse 4. It was then and later too, the Nephilim appeared on earth, when divine beings, when B'nai Ha-Elohim cohabited with the human women, who bore them offspring. Such were the heroes of old, the men of renown. And that final clause there is Hema Hagivorim, Hagiborim Asher Me Olam Anshe Hashem. Hagiborim, I keep mispronouncing that middle radical there, sorry. This is a frequently recurring word here in this text, in other texts. To most often it's translated as men or warriors. Here it's being used to indicate men of exceptional strength and ability. These are the Anshe Hashem, the men of the name, literally men of renown. And Yahweh saw how great was human wickedness on earth, how every plan devised by the human mind. And here it is, never mind about that. Every plan devised by the human mind was nothing but evil all the time. And God, Yahweh, regretted having made humankind on earth with a sorrowful heart. So that is the text for now. We shall certainly return to it. And it looks like someone's it looks like someone is attempting to join the stream. This could be exciting, guys. But let me just give me a second here. Oh shoot. It wasn't shared. My screen wasn't shared the entire time. God damn it. Oh, I'm sorry. How was that not? I could have sworn I put it up there. Shoot. Oh well. But she saw the video. That's the important thing. So okay. Appreciate that, Chrissy, for letting me know. This is what happens. This is what happens when Vish is not here. Bad things happen. But we're gonna continue with the video. I promise to share it this time. Look, it's on the stage. Everyone can see it. I'm gonna press play now, and we're gonna continue watching. And
then in verse 4, the text seems to indicate that the Nephilim are the result of those unions, though that is disputed. Now, there's three classic views about the identity of the sons of God here. First, an angelic or supernatural view. So the sons of God are heavenly beings in this view.
I want to point out as well that when he's talking about three classical views as to the identity of the sons of God, he's talking about within Christian theology. There are Jewish readings that reflect this as well, but these are theological readings. These are not historical readings. These are not critical readings of the text.
Angels, or more specifically, fallen angels. And then in the latter two views, the sons of God are human figures. They're either the descendants of the godly character Seth, or they are royal figures of some kind. First, let's just start with this clause, B'nai Ha-Elohim, the sons of God. And what we can note is that elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible, this phrase refers to heavenly beings or angels, whether good or fallen angels. In the book of...
Okay. I want to pause it there again, just to say that no, at least in its original perspective, in the original writing of this text, these beings were not regarded or construed as angels. They were not. There is a word for that in Hebrew. The word is malach, and that word does not appear in this text. There is certainly theological development that takes place into the 1st century CE with regards to this text and with the regards to the identity of these beings. But, up until the Second Temple period, these were not angels. They were not angels. I'm going to pull him off the screen once again here for now. And I am going to try this once more because I want to read something at the outset from that I published in the book, in my book. So let's make sure this is on the screen now. Y'all can see that. I know you can, right? I can see it. So this is, look, Prixie, it's fine. It's all good now. Look, I got it. I got the right thing on the stage. I did the thingy. Okay. So thank you, Maya, for confirming that you see it. Should I make it a little bigger? Perhaps is it a bit small? Let's do that. We'll zoom into this a little bit more. Is it making it bigger? Yeah, it is. That's good. All right. So this is page, if you have the book, this is on page 130. This is in chapter 5, close to the beginning of the chapter. I talk about this interesting story, the prologue to the story of Job in Job chapter 1. And I ask this question at the outset: who were the sons of God? It's the same question that Gavin asked at the beginning of his video. And I'll just read a little bit of this in the first couple of pages here. A very common interpretation of this story in Job, and others like it, was that these background figures were angels, and Satan was the great adversary. Did I just hear something? Just a sec here. Oh, look.
Ta-da!
Hey, guys. Hello, it's Nitty. Yay! Oh, wait.
All right.
I actually have. I can do this, Nitty, because I've got buttons here.
You have buttons.
I have buttons. Awesome. How you doing?
Good. Just had fish and fries, and the kids are watching The Parent Trap. So now I'm free.
Now you're free. Sweet. Well, we're very happy. You
Yeah.
can help me to make sure that I don't fuck anything else up, which is which is nice.
Okay.
So no pressure or anything like that.
Oh.
But oh, look, Archival Blob says, I think he's talking about you. You're man of the name. So somebody said what it was fish and what?
Oh, it's chips.
Um,
It's chips,
what
not fries.
isn't it chips everywhere? I mean, like we don't even
America's full of
say
heretics. I'm sorry.
yeah, but I mean they say that's what they say in the UK too. That's what we say here in Canada. What else could it be?
It's fish and freedom, Kip.
Fish and freedom. Nice. All right. I'm just about to read this little bit here, Nitty, from my book. So this is in answering this question of who were the sons of God.
Yes, this makes many a young Christian itch.
It can, right? So
Because you're like, what the
on
hell
the
is going
face,
on?
yeah. I opened this chapter with a story of when I started Bible college, and I was a really obnoxious, 20-year-old boy with a giant Geneva Study Bible tucked underneath my arm. On the facing page of my Geneva Study Bible to this story in the book of Job, I still have it, by the way. It's over there on the shelf. I was informed that, and this is a quote, Satan is the leader of the fallen angels, and like them, he comes into full view only in the New Testament. Upon reading John MacArthur's commentary, which is also something that I used to do once upon a time, I learned even more about this shadowy figure. Emboldened by the success he had with the unfallen Adam in paradise, Genesis 3:6-12 and 17-19, he was confident that the fear of God in Job, one of a fallen race, would not stand his tests, for he had fallen himself. See Isaiah 14, verse 12. MacArthur went on to answer my questions about what my New King James translation called the sons of God. Job's life is about to be caught up in heavenly strategies as the scene moves from earth to heaven. Oh, where'd you go, Needy?
I logged into StreamYard, so I had dark mode. Well, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It went away.
Oh, did it? So
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried. As the scene moves from earth to heaven, where God is holding counsel with his heavenly court, it is significant to note that neither Job nor his friends ever knew about this. All of their discussions were conducted without the benefit of knowing about this heavenly dimension. The angelic host, see chapter 38, verse 7, Psalm 29, verse 1, 89, verse 7, and Daniel 3:25, and we will look at some of these texts, came to God's throne to render account of their ministry throughout the earth and heaven. See also 1 Kings chapter 22, verses 19-22. Like a Judas among the apostles, Satan was with the angels. This certainly matched my New International Version that I had received from my parents as a high school graduation gift, where it says that one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord. In Job 1:6. This fed an appetite for knowledge in my Doctrine of God class. The one true God presided over a council of nameless, faceless, ethereal attendants, and he squared off against the prince of darkness, evil Satan, in a contest to determine each human's fate, all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present. But how much my perspective changed when after a year I transferred to university. There I started reading the text in its original language, and I began to learn of a wider, wonderful world of ancient Near Eastern literature. The depiction here in the prologue of Job, as well as in Genesis chapter 6, appears very similar to gatherings of divine beings that I learned through other more ancient texts, a court of the gods, something like what I read in the Baal cycle. Leave, lads, do not delay. Now head to the assembly and council, to the midst of Mount Lalu. Do not fall at El's feet. Do not prostrate yourself before the assembly and council. Still standing, speak your speech. Recite your message and address Bol, my father, El. Recite to the assembly and council, message of sea, your master, your lord, Judge River. Give up, gods, the one you obey, O multitude. Give up Baal, that I may humble him, the son of Dagon, that I may inherit his gold. The lads left. They did not delay. They headed to the midst of Mount Lalu, to the assembly and council, and there the gods had sat down to eat, the holy ones to a meal. Baal was standing by Ale. So that's tablet 2, column 1, lines 14 to 21. And the translation is by Mark Smith and Michael Coogan. Here we read of Yam, C, who sends emissaries to the divine court that is gathered on the mountain of El, Mount Lalu, to petition for the surrender of his enemy Baal. This is a lucid reflection of what takes place in Job 1, in Genesis chapter 6, a story about the deliberations of the divine assembly in the court of the king of the gods, El. So
Pause.
that's where we start, yes.
So one of the things that I noticed right away, well, there's a couple things I want to say about that from a different probably angle than you would probably do it. So and this is, from a non-scholarly perspective, but an ex-Christian one, right? So one of the first things I noticed being, kind of removed from a devotion to the text, when you added that and you look at how angels, I'm going to put air quotes in that for a second, behave in the Torah and the early parts of the Hebrew Bible, they behave in very, Christians would say, anthropomorphic terms, but from, again, a non-devotional reader, they perform in human terms. So these are beings that have, dare I say, a kind very close to ours, right? How does a being fall at the feet of the angels or the heavenly host described in Isaiah or Daniel or Ezekiel? Where are the feet? Like, what are those feet? What meaning does that have? Which eyeballs are they looking at? Right?
Yeah. Right.
My eyes are up here. Which ones?
Yeah.
So, sorry.
So much of the problem too, right? Like,
but in Job too, right? Like, even the adversary is depicted as behaving very man-like, right? They're making observations and character assumptions and dialoguing with Yahweh themselves as just another human, like being in their presence, like whatever. Like, if this is such an adversarial character, like, how is that tone justified? Right?
Right.
It gets messier and messier the more you try to cleave to a devotion to this text. And then once you're not so stuck on it, you can say, well, actually, if this is just a continuing development of the types of theology throughout history, this makes perfect sense. And so when you look at when you look at that other Baal text you had, right now, like, all those very man-centered, man-like, Adam-like behaviors, complete sense. Right? They're right in line with what everyone's reading, experiencing, believing, engaging with in their pantheon. Or no, I shouldn't maybe not say it that way. Their divine beliefs, their beliefs of the divine. Do holy ghosts wear shoes? Well, maybe if these angels are falling at the feet, they do have feet, Dr. Falk.
You just can't see them, Nitty. Nobody can see them unless it's shoot, I'm bad at this, but now I feel like I have to play it right.
What you generally see if you see a ghost in a setting like that is some guy in Western gear. Now, ironically, 90% of people who see ghosts never see shoes or feet. It's very strange. Unless they're a person who's really into the fashion industry and is obsessed with shoes, you never see feet or shoes on a ghost. Okay, so it's like 90% of people never see shoes or feet on a ghost.
Yeah, 90%. It's
Okay,
very...
I guess angels aren't ghosts, Kip, so we can be nicer.
Oh, maybe that's okay. All right, yeah. I'm committing a category error here.
Yeah,
I
me
guess,
too. Me
is
too.
what
I'm
you're
sorry,
telling me.
my
Okay.
Christian
All right.
friends.
All right. We might see more of the now disgraced Egyptologist.
Oh, wait,
today.
wait. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
as an ex-Christian, you're basically, to work through that cognitive dissonance, right? What you kind of
Yeah.
have to do is a lot of the legwork that Gavin's gonna do. But on top of that, a lot of, I think, Christians are also going to just never be able to make that comparative analysis because they just, not because they're stupid or something, it's just because they don't have the exposure to texts like you did, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
this material is just not available nor acknowledged by apologist communities, except for the ones that take the Justin Martyr take in modern times, right? Well, those are just partial revelations from Satan himself
Right.
to deceive
Yeah.
people. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that
right.
tracks. Right.
Let's
So-
watch the pretzels.
Let's do that. First, Tree Clam Tad for another $2 said, "It's not the man named man, it's man. Exactly. This is not.
That super
That's
chat
right.
is hilarious. Tree Clam Tad.
Yeah. It's if you're watching Dapper Dinosaurs,
Oh, there's another
Saturday
super chat that came in.
shows.
It's really funny.
Oh, is there? Oh, this one. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that one. Thanks, Tree Clam Tad for $5. God, in a Rodney Dangerfield voice, grabbing his tie. The adversary. No one told me the Asherah was going to be here. Right? Yeah.
You did it better than I can. That was great.
I was. You know what? I
Icon
started that, and then I felt like, oh my God, I'm committed now. I
committed.
have to finish it.
Mhm.
And I almost bailed
fine.
on it, but I'm happy I didn't. Thanks. All right, Gavin, let's talk.
The book of Job, for example, you find
Yes,
the
we just-
sons
we
of
just
God, the
talked
same
about this
term
one.
here,
Mhm.
come to present themselves to the Lord, and Satan is among them. Later in the book, the phrase "the sons of God" is placed parallel to the morning stars. The morning stars is a reference to heavenly beings, what we sometimes today call angels. And sometimes in the Psalms also, we have what is translated in some English translations as heavenly beings is actually in the Hebrew the same phrase, the sons of God, B'nai Ha Elohim. And I'll give two examples on the screen from Psalm 29 and 89. And in both of those Psalms, the context has to do with the divine counsel. Now, while son of God language can be applied to Israel or to the Davidic king in certain contexts, there's no clear precedent in the Hebrew Bible for this exact phrase, sons of God, to refer to something like the line of Seth or royal figures or something like that.
I'm gonna pause it there. I need to point out a couple of things. He mentioned a few texts, and I think we need to look at these. Just because there's a few things to point out. Let me pull up the first one. It sounds like you've got some things to say.
Well, like so there's usually a lot of concern about context, right? From evangelical apologists and the hermeneutical method, which ironically will state something to the effect of, well, cultural context and perspective of the original audience is very much what you should consider, right? But when it comes to making the Bible have one voice, when Gavin makes this concession, well, it means this here, that here, this here, that here, it's inconsistent to say we know for sure it's X over here when you have to create new rules per context, right? So something's going on to get rid of cognitive dissonance between what the context seems to say that it is, right? And what they maybe need it to be because of other commitments in order for the rest of it to be coherent, right? And to not violate any other metaphysics or uncomfortable ideas that come through it.
And as I'm going to show you now, a part of that problem is this becomes more problematic if you're actually engaging with the text in the original language. So this is I didn't have it on the screen, so that's unfortunate. But when we looked at Genesis chapter 6, the story when the sons of God came to the daughters of man, the human women, excuse me, the actual expression there is B'nai Ha-Elohim. Elohim is the word generally translated as God. It's a plural word, so there are occasions, not many, but there are occasions within the Hebrew Bible where it's better to translate it as plural, gods. It's interesting that it appears with the definite article, the word that we translate as the, in Genesis chapter 6, which prompts me to think maybe this is a place where it's okay to translate it as the sons of the gods. And that's how it looks as well in Job chapter 1, where it says that all the sons of God had gathered in the council of Yahweh. It's their B'nai Ha-Elohim as well, with the definite article. Does this mean sons of the gods? Here, looking now in Job chapter 38, it says, when the stars of the morning sang together, and Kol B'nai Elohim, all the sons of Elohim, all the sons of God, shouted for joy. It's a question mark. It's a rhetorical. So it's slightly different, not dramatically different, but it's not exactly the same in this particular text. Let's look at one of these other ones.
Wait, whoa. Hold on. Scroll down
go
a
ahead.
little bit. I want to see something.
Okay. What do you want to see?
Go back up now. So the imagery shift here is freaking wild.
Yeah.
Who closed the sea behind the doors when it gushed forth out of the womb?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whoa. Wait, scroll back up a little more.
Do you want to see the previous verse?
Yeah, what's this in the
so
full
this
context
is
of?
all
Is this
about
creation
see, this
itself?
is all about creation. Yeah. This is
hold on, who is
Yahweh's first speech out of the whirlwind. Who is this? The
earth's when I laid the earth's foundations. Okay. So what's interesting is that I've never thought, so this is like a memory verse sometimes for like, oh look, creation ex nihilo.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
God basically like one-upping Job. But you're never really given the full context of, again, very human-centered language here, which is kind of wild for the analogy here of the water breaking of a woman, and the earth being birthed as such.
Listen,
right?
This
then
is
being
similar.
swaddled, like it doesn't. Yeah, I would say I'm wondering if this is basically like a Babylonian myth about the creation of the world being this more human-like birth narrative. I don't know.
This is not the only place in the text where it sounds like this. Proverbs chapter 8 also echoes some of this creation through birth kind of language. It's a good observation, Nitty. I'm gonna pull up these other two texts that he mentioned from Psalms. Just got to make sure I get the right ones here. It's Psalm 29 verse 1 and then Psalm 89 verse 7. I've got a selection from my book about Psalm 89 too. So here we have Mizmor le David, a psalm of David. Ascribe to Yahweh b'nei Elim, not Elohim, which is interesting. This is a different word, a different expression once again. Ascribe to Yahweh, sons of, I would probably say, the gods. Ascribe to Yahweh glory and strength. And then it continues, ascribe to Yahweh the glory of that name, bow down to Yahweh, majestic in holiness. So, but what I want to point out here is the things that Gavin is missing in his exploration of this passage, which I think is really, really critical. We have slight variations on this term here that I think are significant. And I don't think you can just translate these all exactly the same based on these differences. So here it's B'nai Elim. I particularly like Psalm 89. And to illustrate this, I'm going to read some more from my book because I wrote a little bit about Psalm 89 there. Just make sure this gets up on the stage here. There we go. I have a bookmark here.
I'm trying to remember if those passages are in Francesca's book.
Probably. It's they're pretty prominent in this sort of discussion. So this is at the top of page 140, still in chapter 5, where I talk about this particular psalm, Psalm 89. And I'll just read the psalm here. I have some thoughts that I wrote out following this as well. Your wonders, Yahweh, are praised by the sky. So this is my translation of the psalm. And your faithfulness in the assembly of holy ones. This is Kedoshim. Kedoshim is a common term used for divine beings, for gods. For who in the clouds can face off with Yahweh? Who is like Yahweh among, and there it is, B'nai Elim. And it's the same as in Psalm 29 and different from Genesis chapter 6 and from Job chapter 1. This is the B'nai Elim. Who is like Yahweh among the sons of the gods? El, greatly dreaded in the council of the holy ones, and awesome above all around him. Yahweh, God of armies, who is like you, mighty Yah? Your faithfulness surrounds you. You alone rule the pride of the sea. When its waves surge, you still them. You alone crushed Rahav like a corpse. With your strong arm, you scattered your enemies. The sky is yours, so also the earth, the world and all it holds. You alone founded them. Zaphon and to the right. Zaphon, by the way, is the mountain of Baal in the north. That is co-opted very frequently by the writers of the Bible as Yahweh's mountain. You alone created them. Tabor and Hermon, proclaim your name loudly. You have a mighty arm, strong as your hand, your right hand exalted, and on and on and on. But I have a couple of things to say here. Much as in the rest of the ancient Near East, gods were descended from long forgotten distant deities of the remote past who are no longer active. At Ugarit, El had been replaced or is progressively being usurped by Baal. In Psalm 89, Yahweh is depicted in the first part as most prominent among the other gods, possibly mounting a challenge to El in verse 6 in the English. For supremacy in the divine council, who is like Yahweh among the sons of the gods, the B'nai Elim. The last word here translated is Elim, a plural word meaning gods. But these are unmistakably the sons of El. in the following verse, English translations will render this as God is greatly feared. But I wonder if the explicit challenge within this rhetorical question is missed as a result. Of course, the answer to the question implied by the Psalter is that no one can compare to, no one can challenge Yahweh. What happens when we see here the name El, not the generic God, as part of that challenge? Who is like Yahweh among the sons of the gods? The answer
No one.
is no one, not even El. Greatly dreaded in the council of the holy ones and awesome above all around him? The answer is no. Yahweh is the God of armies. Who is like you, mighty Yah? No one, not even El. So these are, and I hope you can see that the italicized portions are my editorial explanations of the rhetoric that's occurring in this particular psalm. But I think this provides a clearer sense of this kind of world, of the sort of activity that takes place within within these texts. The fact that it is a world that is populated by numerous deities, by numerous divine beings, by numerous gods. That's what we're looking at in Genesis chapter 6. So all that to say, right at the outset, Gavin is missing this, right? These are not angels. This is a description of God's offspring, of God's contemporaries and colleagues who decide, who make this decision to go and cohabit with human women.
Do some things.
Do some things. So I've got a few super chats here, Nitty, and then we'll get back to the video. No, that's all right. You're fine. So I just got to make sure I'm ready here. All right. So Deviant Outcast, it's good to see you. Did you know that Deviant Outcast is an Egyptologist?
Ooh.
Deviant Outcast throwing the sex around, and yes, and is legitimately an Egyptologist. Oh no, I came here for a fun, relaxing time, and the first thing I hear is the voice of the least among my colleagues. Will this sex offering appease thee, O great Kip of the Dagon? That's real.
Can you see the cat chair?
I can see the cat
chair. Since I got
chair.
my new.
Oh yeah, excellent. That's not Void Kitty, is it?
No, that's Rosie.
Rosie, nice. So, Chrissy's given another super chat. Thank you, Chrissy. Aaron Wilson writes essay on B'nai Elohim and how it originated from a Central Semitic ancestor for El or Elu's council is relevant here. Thank you. And you're right. Chrissy has written an excellent article on this very topic in conversation with the work of Michael S. Heiser, who is somebody that the evangelical apologists like quite a lot.
Certain ones, though.
Yeah, there's some don't like him so much.
That's yeah.
True. Yeah. So, but people should check out Chrissy's essay. And one more from Hangfishy. Is that a Tiamat reference? The H2O womb gushing. Look at that. Hangfishy's picking up what you're putting down too, Nitty.
Yeah.
With the labor pain, the creation being born in the book of Job. Yeah, it's this is exactly what's going on, this kind of stuff. All right, let's listen to Gavin prattle on some more.
Furthermore, the contrast here is interesting. Sons of God versus the daughters of man. This antithesis fits well with a supernatural interpretation because it seems natural to read this language as calling to mind two different kind of entities in union, whereas if both groups are human, the contrast is a little more curious. Here's how one commentator puts this. Quote, the alternative interpretations presuppose that what Genesis 6 really meant was that the sons of some men married the daughters of other men. The present phrase, sons of God, is, to say the least, an obscure way of expressing such an idea. Second, let's zoom out a little bit and
But
see
was it
this
though?
text in the broader context. So we're looking at Genesis 6.
Wasn't though. Yeah. Yeah. No, but yeah. So, and I think this is the Gavin's pushing back on this a little bit too, but some of this stuff about the context of Genesis is helpful, but I don't think overly helpful for understanding this particular text. So, and I can talk a
1 through 4
about that
within the broader narrative of the unfolding events of Genesis 1 through 11. The Nephilim story interrupts a genealogy in Genesis 5 that had ended in the figure of Noah and his 3 sons, and then it immediately leads into the story of Noah's flood, which is about divine judgment against evil. So right after the verse referencing the Nephilim, we read that the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and so God resolves to send the judgment of the flood. Now, a theme all throughout Genesis 1 through 11 is the continual escalation of human sin.
What's that?
I want to actually look back, and was it like the Neo documentary hypothesis or something, where you could just read Genesis 6 1 through 4 independent of 5:32, and this is in Christian Bibles, and chapter 6 verse 5. If you read that, the end of 5 into 6 verse 5, you would miss nothing. So what the hell is 1 through 4 even doing there?
Oh, yeah, no question. And I'm happy you brought up the documentary hypothesis, because I think there's something else to point out here as well. Like you're pointing out the sort of the independence of this story in Genesis, like about the sons of God cohabiting with the women, as on its own, not like thrown into this story almost as an interruption.
If you read the text and it wasn't there, what would change?
You wouldn't miss it. No,
right, like in the overall point of the story. Yeah.
And I like that you've picked up on this. I've actually got this in my notes next. So this is Genesis, and I want to point out something else too in this. So this is the end of this genealogy in Genesis 5, right? This is the one with the long ages. There's Enoch, who lived to 365, and then Methuselah, who lived to like 969, and Lamech. And Lamech was the father of Noah. And this is what it says here. Okay. He called his name Noah. Are you laughing at more super chats?
Yes.
Oh no.
I forgot about that.
Should I show it?
Yes.
The super chat from Real Melly.
That
one. Okay. Thank you, Real Melly. Let's not get distracted from the most important question. How could Noah tell the Nephilim apart from the humans? Good times, right?
No, if you guys aren't familiar, this is a reference to a show we probably did about 2 months ago or so, of Budget Scripture Saturday.
I think it was our first one, dude.
It might have been our first one.
It was the very first Budget Scripture Saturday.
Oh, you're right. And it's just this wild AI slop of what the Nephilim were. And it gets bonkers. Maybe intentionally at the end. Not by us, by the people who made that sloppy video. But anyway, let's continue, Kip. Let's not get...
Okay. All right, let's not get distracted, as the super chat said. So here, I want you to notice this, right? It says Lamech calls his son's name Noah, saying, "This one will provide us relief from our work." And it's a play on words here. It's Ze Yenachemenu. You can hear it, sort of hear it in there. Yenachemenu, Noach. So that's the words are related. and from the toil of our hands, out of the very soil that Yahweh placed under a curse. Then it says, after the birth of Noah, Lamech lived 595 years and begot sons and daughters. All the days of Lamech came to 770 years, and he died. When Noah lived 500 years, Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. And what you're getting at here is this transition, all this stuff. You don't even, if you just ignore all this stuff about the sons of God and the daughters of men, and then God seeing the wickedness on earth and how everyone's bad, and he regretted having made humankind. And then he says, I will blot out from the earth humankind whom I have created, humans together with animals, creeping things, and birds of the sky. I will regret that I made him.
What the hell kind of being is the Nephilim and human thing? Which Gavin's going to try and tackle later. And why isn't that in the list? Because wouldn't that be like a new kind of thing?
In this list. In the one in Genesis 5, is that the one you're talking
that we're
about,
looking at right now? No. I will blot out from the earth humankind.
This is right. This is
what the hell. And that's why I joked.
Thing, right?
Like, what is the kind of? And when we get to it later, I want to give. I might skip doing it on my channel because this will give me a chance to express one of the apologetics problems of especially biblical literalists in trying to address this. But anyway. But yeah,
I mean, I guess we'll see how far we get today too, right?
Right.
And we can come back to it and do it on your channel next week. If we don't have time for all of this today, and I mean, it's kind of looking like that's a good possibility. But so here he says, but I like this that you're picking up on this too, because a lot of people miss this. The sons of God, these divine beings, are the ones who come down and cohabit with women, producing these Nephilim, who are then connected. They're like the giants, the men of renown. And then the text doesn't seem to directly connect any of that to the fact that men are wicked and violent and need to be blotted out. Not these guys, not the divine beings, or the giants. None of them, right?
Who they?
True. Exactly. But then this happens, and this is kind of interesting, because it says this is the line or the toledot of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. Noah walked with God. Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now,
wait a minute. You don't even need those first few.
What's that?
You don't even, so you can go even further in 6 and omit those and then just start at this is the line of Noah.
Yes. This is the beginning of a new story, right?
And you'll notice it's also repeating the information from chapter 5, right? And then it repeats this. The earth became corrupt before God. The earth was filled with not violence, lawlessness. And then God saw how corrupt the earth was, for all flesh had corrupted its way on earth. And it continues into the story. So the point I want to show here, the thing I want people to see, is that you're dealing with a variety of sources here, right? And this is the kind of stuff that Gavin sort of has to ignore. Wait, and one more thing that I'm just picking up on now is that the Christian Testament writers, I'm not sure if the Hebrew Bible has this, but when the Christian Testament writers are engaging Genesis, do you think it's in something like this form where they're engaging the text with these traditions put together? And so when they're engaging the text and talking about God's judgment, they're stuck with including this as the rationale, as part of the rationale for God's judgment, when it didn't even need to be there in the first place.
But it gets even more complicated for the New Testament writers too. And this is something that Gavin brings up, right? Is that it's not just because and that's definitely something we have to talk about, right? Like there's this whole tradition preceding the New Testament in the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch, which dramatically develops all this stuff already. But yeah, it's just this is just wild. So much more complex, right? So okay, look, we're 4 minutes in.
This shit together when I believe that I don't understand. Hey, sorry, Christians, we're really putting this through the ringer here.
You know, not all Christians. I mean, I know.
Sure, yeah, this is mytho history.
Have no problem. No problem with the reading that we're going to provide today.
Transgressing boundaries.
Jesus died, rose again, but this is mytho history. It's fine. This is fine. It's never thought to be literal.
I need to. I guess maybe I need to start telling people who show up on my channel, just please do not use that term mytho history. It's gonna drive me crazy.
Fall of Adam and Eve in Genesis 3. You have the Tower of Babel. I think you're supposed to say Babel.
You are
in
supposed
Genesis
to say
7.
Babel.
You also have Lamech's boasting in Genesis 4, and the character Nimrod in Genesis 10. Look him up if you've never heard of him. He's the first person called a mighty man, which the Nephilim are called as well. But there's this recurrent concern about human corruption overflowing its bounds, the escalation of rebellion against God, the transgression of divinely appointed boundaries, resulting in disorder. So, and the story of the Nephilim fits within this broader message. We have some echoes between Genesis 3 and Genesis 6. For example, the language of seeing and taking is used to describe the sons of God taking human women, which may echo Eve's seeing and taking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So
I will just say I think that's right. I think that's a nice observation, actually. On a literary level, right?
Yeah, and this can work for no matter what interpretation you're going to take on what qualitatively these beings are. That's completely fine.
Yeah, no question. So
Vadim.
All right. Well, what did he say? Was there a new one? Oh, there is. Thanks for keeping.
You should study mythomatics.
Mythomatics. Thanks.
Are we sure we don't want to study mythomagnetics?
Mythomagnetics. Not without the weasels.
Yeah.
We need his guidance and resourcefulness to help us with that one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Which here seems to suggest a boundary violation, seeing what is across that instituted boundary that God set and transgressing over the boundary to take it. It gives the impression of something unusual happening, something destabilizing. This seems to be suggesting something more than just, more people are getting married or something like that. The language here in Genesis 6:1-4 is very cryptic and sort of cosmic, and you're wondering, what is this unique event, right? So any human interpretation,
it doesn't belong there, Gavin. That's what it
is. Yeah, because I think, and this is
sorry.
No, don't be sorry. But I think
I'm
this is
apologizing to him. But go on.
Oh, okay. I think that what's happening in the book of Genesis is that, and he mentions this too, how this, the way that it's just kind of pasted in there, and it's so brief and it's very matter of fact, and it's cryptic in the sense that there's very few actual details in there. This is a story that the people who heard, who were the first readers, hearers of the book of Genesis, this is a story that they knew. Obviously at the outset, it would have been like a famous story, I think, and at the time it was written. And it's kind of what the writer is doing is using this story as the launching point for what follows in the flood. right? That's what he's doing. And that's part of why it kind of fits, but doesn't actually fit. It's part of why it sparked so much conversation and debate and discussion over the next several dozens of centuries. So,
2,000 years.
that many, yes.
Yeah.
And why are the offspring of the sons of God and human women portrayed as unique in the text? On the one hand, these phrases, mighty men and men of renown, which are often taken in reference to the Nephilim here in verse 4, are not necessarily supernatural. You know, you might have heard of David's might or view, but even just wrestling with this issue can helpfully remind us of the strange new world of the Bible.
Fault.
Sometimes we modern readers of necessarily supernatural, you know, you might have heard of David's mighty men. This means warriors or heroes or champions. The men of renown suggest sort of legendary figures who make a name for themselves.
By the way, David's mighty men, his warriors and his champions, the word that's used there to describe them is it's givodim. So it's the same, right? That is used to describe the men of renown in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4.
And this isn't necessarily supernatural, but it does seem to convey something unique and noteworthy. Their fame may anticipate Babel's attempt to make a name for humanity. Genesis is constantly critiquing self-exalting power. Whatever view of the Nephilim we land on, we need to have a satisfying explanation for why they are portrayed as unique and for their placement in the broader narrative. Let's zoom out even further to consider the ancient Near Eastern context. Modern readers are at a disadvantage in interpreting this passage.
At least he's considering it.
Right. And, you know, in a world where you are committed to this text as part of your identity, you're gonna have to do things that Gavin does, or probably the people in the comments of this video are doing. To say, okay, yeah, this is around, but it's not really true. So
yeah, exactly.
Because we don't pull from the same cultural background, images, and stories that the original readers of this text would likely have had. There's other stories floating around the ancient Near East that would have informed the way this text was read. And modern readers typically lack that background cultural knowledge. Here's how Joel puts it. The sparse details indicate this must have been a story that was quite familiar to the people of that time. And we know there were several stories in the ancient Near Eastern world at that time depicting battles between supernatural beings and the presence of demigods who were the product of the union between divine beings and humans. By the way, little pastoral aside here, sometimes Christians are disturbed by similarities between the book of Genesis and other ancient literature.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get to it. But there's a good chat in the mobile side. Leviranier 9968 says, Dr. Kip Davis, for a while now, but just recently started listening to your content. I'm absolutely loving it. I will definitely be getting some of your books.
Thank you. I encourage you to get the one that is affordable. All the other books are too expensive for anybody to buy, but if you're going to buy a book,
Kip Davis has written
you can buy that one. That one's a good one. So
it's a link in the description of this video.
It is linked in the description of this video. Thanks, Nitty.
Yes.
I got another here from Tree Clam Ted. Considered and rejected in one move. Magical. Excellent.
They did some American goaltending. Oop.
Did you before?
No.
Yes, and then showed up at the
Burger King.
No, I was going to say showed up at the State of the Union address to collect your Presidential Medal of Freedom. I think he's giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Connor Hellebuck.
Oh boy. Nice. And a cheeseburger.
Anyways, yeah. Okay. So this is, and I'm interested to hear some of your thoughts on his pastoral aside here about, what do you do with some of these similarities between these texts?
Richer. But just remember, similarity does not imply borrowing. It can reflect shared cultural vocabulary that Genesis is recasting. And if you pay attention to both the similarities and the differences, sometimes you can note that Genesis is actually undermining these other alternative worldviews. And so here, it's probably best to read Genesis 6 as a kind of quiet polemic, reframing themes that are familiar in the ancient world, divine human unions and this kind of thing, but stripping them of their heroic glory and instead embedding them in the context of judgment. In Mesopotamian literature,
Okay.
for example, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
So that is something that was recognized in my fundies that don't like to be called fundy circle. It doesn't, but it can. Yeah, exactly. Where in things like the Exodus, right? There's an attempt at framing each plague as some propaganda against or polemic against one of the Egyptian deities, right? And so it's framed as these plagues are actually Yahweh subverting and communicating his authority, his true authority over these false gods. And so it is acknowledged. However, as you look through religions and the history of religions, right, we're special pleading for Christianity. Well, the traditions around these scriptures, when it engages in this practice, it's because it's true, right? But when other traditions are doing the same, you can, and very easily you can look at Islam, right, where it's confronting the incoherence to many of the Trinity, the problems with trying to be a modern follower of Jesus, the power struggles in the area. I mean, it's making comments on all kinds of things, mostly in right of trying to gain power, but rudimentary Muslim understanding here, but you get the idea, right? There's an engagement with it that's that you're giving these scriptural traditions a higher priority and reverence than you are for when this practice happens anywhere else. Anyway,
it's an interesting observation, I think, in that, like, just thinking about, and I don't know the Quran well at all either,
actually,
though, right? But like applying the same metrics that Gavin is, and let's take the Quran and say it's not necessarily borrowing from the Bible. It might even be polemicizing parts of the Bible. It's like it is the same thing, right? Are you frozen?
No.
Oh, yes, you were frozen.
What? Oh,
I
weird.
think you
Damn
were.
you, internet.
But I think you're frozen again, actually. But
No.
as long as we can hear you, that's good. So, but it's the special pleading of it all, right? It's because I already believe the revelation, then everything else that looks kind of like it must either just be copying, or it was it was somehow virtuous and redeemable and understandable. So yeah, that's fun. But I do also want to say that there are lots of times too where, in the first place, like, we can see and we know that these biblical texts are much newer, than they're not nearly as old as some of these other creation stories, right? Like, we just know that. Everybody is aware of this. And there's elements within the ways the texts are interacting interacting story, which show us that, yeah, like the Bible is definitely riffing off of these older stories. But they help you to see, like, it's not always polemical. I think a lot of that is in there, but
otherwise you wouldn't have written a whole book about it. I mean,
yeah, it's true. That's exactly it, right? So, but it's a way of poo-pooing and undermining and downplaying something that I think is really important when it comes to reading the biblical text and recognizing that it's part of this much, much, much bigger world, and we're better off coming to a clearer understanding of the text if we can see the
yes, Simone.
the bits of nuance in that world. I think this is one I'm on. Thanks, Simone, for the $5 super chat. To polemicize against a text, you kind of have to be using that text, right? To inform your composition and make reference to, i.e., borrow from it, right?
This is like right in line with, Josh Bowen's illustrations of, Eminem and,
Yep.
You have to know the lyrical content of other songs to say that this song has indeed engaged with those other songs.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And so, yeah. But anyway.
Exactly. So
let's see what Gavin's
now
gonna try.
He's gonna switch gears here, I think.
Gilgamesh is part divine, part human.
Oh,
and I'll put up an example of a scholar that makes this connection. He's noting that Gilgamesh was a man of renown, like the Nephilim, and he
actually. I want to just make sure that we give Ron Handel his due here. Mesopotamian literature provides some interesting glimpses into the conceptual background of Genesis 6:1-4. The most notable case is the famous hero Gilgamesh. As a great warrior king, he would certainly fit the epithets ancient warrior and man of renown.
Renown, like the Nephilim, and he was 2/3 God and 1/3 human. Again, we're not saying
in the Gilgamesh epic, we're told that 2/3 of him is God and 1/3 of him is human. The sons of the god, the son of the goddess Shin-sun, and the human king Lugal-banda. In his ancestry, we see a divine human marriage and the birth of a semi-divine child.
This is the exact same thing that's going on in Genesis, but it's part of the background knowledge. If there are stories about giant offspring resulting from heavenly and human figures in union, and that's already floating in the cultural milieu, that's going to influence how you read the text. Strange as that idea can be in the modern world, that was a common idea in the ancient world. And of course, what we're after here is we want to know, what does the text mean? Furthermore, this need to check our modern biases doesn't just come up from the general thought world of the ancient Near East, but it also comes up in the subsequent history of Jewish interpretation of this text. For example, in the Septuagint, the phrase sons of God is translated differently, while the earliest Septuagint...
That's still, it seems, it's like a way of saying, well, I know this looks like special pleading, but
yeah. So, especially here with the Septuagint, when he starts talking about this is where I mean, I have some problems with I'll just back it up a little bit and then talk about some of the problems I have with the way that he presents this. So listen carefully to what he says about the Septuagint rendering of these texts.
This need to check our modern biases doesn't just come up from the general thought world of the ancient Near East, but it also comes up in the subsequent history of Jewish interpretation of this text. For example, in the Septuagint, the phrase sons of God is translated differently, while the earliest Septuagint manuscripts render the phrase sons of God. Some later Greek textual traditions interpret it as the angels of God. Furthermore, the Nephilim is rendered gigantes, a term that in Greek literature refers to powerful mythic beings and is often translated as giants. Other ancient Jewish...
Okay, so just pausing there for a second. I don't know if you caught that. And I had to... The first time I heard it, I thought, because he said that there's older manuscripts. You heard that right. He talked about older Septuagint manuscripts where the term is translated as sons of God, but then later texts it's translated as angels. So
But
this
I thought
is
we had the Bible
maybe.
word for word.
Oh shit! This always, you guys, you're always catching me off guard.
Word for word.
Word for word.
Word for word.
Wow.
There we go. So this is probably me being a little bit pedantic here, but I think it's important because manuscripts are like I think it's important to be, especially in this space, to be precise with the language, with the words that we use. Manuscripts are like physical copies that we have of the text. So these are like the Dead Sea Scrolls are manuscripts. Those are biblical manuscripts. But that's not what I think he's talking about, or he's just confused. What I think he's talking about is that in these different texts that we looked at, I'm just going to pull them down for a second here. In these different texts that we looked at, Genesis 6, 1-4, Psalm 89, Job chapter 1, Psalm 29, all these places where the sons of God are mentioned. And we also saw that there's slightly different terminology used in some of these texts too. The Septuagint translates those differently. And you can track some of the older texts, the language used in older texts against the language used in newer ones, which it shows there is a development of ideas. There is a movement from this idea that these are, divine beings, these are gods, these are literally the sons of the gods, into this later idea that, oh no, they're just angels, right? And I won't pull these up, but I'll just mention them. So, like, scholars will tend to agree that the earliest texts to be translated into Greek were the Torah, Genesis through Deuteronomy, and that everything else in the Bible that was translated into Greek happened later in time, after the translation of the Torah. Most scholars will tend to fix a date on this activity in the 3rd century BCE. Very interestingly, in Genesis chapter 6, verses 2 and 4, where that term, B'nai Ha-Elohim, sons of the gods, appears, it's translated into Greek as hoi huioi tu theou, the sons of God. Very literally. It appears that way in Psalm 29, verse 1, and Psalm 89, verse 7, where the B'nai Elim, the sons of the gods, is translated as huioi theou, or huios theou. One's dative, the other is nominative. Sons of God. Interestingly, in the text of the book of Job, and Chrissy has talked at length. She's not here anymore. But Chrissy's talked at length about this and has written stuff and is working on stuff. Simone is working on this kind of stuff too in the book of Job. The book of Job is notoriously difficult Hebrew. And because it's notoriously difficult Hebrew, the Greek translator of the book of Job struggles mightily with it, like a lot. There's whole sections of the book that he just gave up on and said, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." So I just ignored it, right? In his translation. It's pretty wild. But in the book of Job, so in Job 1 verse 6, where it says B'nai Ha-Elohim, sons of the gods. And then in Job 38:7, where it says B'nai Elohim, sons of God, in both places, it says, well, first of all, in Job 1:6, the Septuagint translates that hoi angeloi tu theou, the angels of God. And then in 38 verse 7, it's angeloi mu, my angels. Mu. So I think this is kind of what he's getting at, poorly, but I think it's an important, a significant point that, in the 3rd century, when the earliest of these texts in the Septuagint were translated into Greek, there was no problem. There was no difficulty in accommodating this idea of divine offspring, of multiple divine beings, running around in the heavens. But then this changed in later periods of time when some of these later texts like Job were translated into Greek. Suddenly now these beings have been transformed into angels, into how Gavin wants to see and understand the figure. So, but I don't think he's being clear enough about that to his audience. His audience isn't getting that message, I don't think, at all, about this diachronic development. And God damn it, that bugs me. So
Well, I think this is important for people to see that, like, as you engage the scholarship and as a non-devoted reader, when you pick up on these patterns, you can still actually love the Bible, right? Because
Right?
what we're experiencing
Yeah.
is a broader view and understanding of where we've come from to get to where we are today. And we're watching how people use this and understand their world now through these texts, right? And thank goodness that most of the time believers read this text and only associate it with it as a rationale for God's judgment. Not that these things could occur in modern day and random spiritual beings are sleeping with them. Just saying, that would be a little bit difficult to us to work around.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you pulled up, this is from the chat, right?
Yeah, but I don't want us to get too far off topic because that could
Okay. All right. Well, we can wait on that maybe towards the end.
We hear
So
you. We see you.
Yes.
We love you. Thank you for the engagement.
We love you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming and hanging out.
Interpreters like Josephus and Philo explicitly interpret these sons of God here as angels. Here's Josephus. For many,
importantly, Josephus writing at the end of the 1st century CE, right? Like in the 90s. Like after Jesus, after the destruction of the temple. Philo is earlier by not quite 100 years.
In the grand scheme of things, not much, but this would be well after the establishment of the tradition that these are a different kind of being.
Yes.
So Gavin is actually being he's basically assumed the conclusion that these all need to have one coherent view, as Dan McClellan would say, and he's imposing that rule on the text, that somehow we have to just accept that the tradition of interpretation of this has been consistent throughout when there's no data to support that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Angels
of God accompanied with women and begat sons that proved unjust and despisers of all that was good on account of the confidence they had in their own strength. For the tradition is that these men did what resembled the acts of those the Greeks called giants. So Josephus is referencing Greek mythology there, but what he's doing in this passage is offering his own interpretive retelling. He's not just giving a translation, and he references a tradition of interpretation, suggesting that this reading was well established in his lifetime. And then we find an angelic view.
It would still be a later one, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So regardless, like, does Josephus, this amazing historian, tell you when the tradition started, or is he like most people?
Well, I don't think he knows, right?
Exactly. It's just taken for granted. Yeah.
like Greek writers were starting to pick up on things like doing their own very rudimentary forms of text criticism, or tracking the development of traditions, but nobody seems to have a very clear awareness of this because they don't have the access to the same kind of data that we do, right? So yeah, as you said, most of these writers just took a lot of this stuff for granted.
Right.
In sort of expanded narrative retelling in the book of Jubilees, which I'll put on screen, though I won't read through that. We find this same thing in the book of Enoch, by the way. Some do. Most Christian traditions don't consider these books, the book of Enoch or the book of Jubilees, as canonical. But what we're getting into here is we're trying to shed light on how.
But importantly, so yeah, he's making this point that we have these other traditions in places like the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees of these, they're elaborate retellings of this story, in which these beings are angels who came and cohabited with women. Yeah, do some things. Yeah, the angels knocking boots. But it's a weird point though too, right? To say that most Christian traditions don't accept these as canonical.
Call the Ethiopian Coptics.
Yeah, and
maybe
the
maybe
Eastern Church.
Maybe some though don't hold it in some kind of reverence or position of authority, and yet do accept that it could reveal some spiritual truths or something. I don't know.
Perhaps,
right? And
perhaps,
maybe there's some truth to the gag, right? That you ask 10 people in a church what they believe, and you'll have 11 different answers, right? So
yep, that's fair, right? So, but importantly, there are Christian traditions that do consider these texts canonical, and even more importantly, it sure looks like there were New Testament writers who considered them authoritative. Or, well, this is all before canon as well.
Sorry,
he is going to kind of admit that
Genesis 6 was interpreted within Second Temple Judaism as one example of pre-modern instincts about how to read this text. But just to take a closer look at the book of Enoch in particular, this is often dated sometime between the 3rd and 1st centuries
Why is
BC.
your instinct? Why is our instinct? Whose instinct? Right, because the whole reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is it like this? Why was I like this? So like, the reason you have cognitive dissonance about reading this fucking passage, is that your instincts tell you it's weird and something is off, that this engagement with creation is not normal amongst what you come to understand is how the world functions, right? And so your intuition is, this is mythical. This might not be true. What are the mechanics of this? Right? Because the other depictions of these divine beings, the eyes are up here, like all kinds of things are goofy, right? And so like, how are we supposed to look at these things? And so he'll get into, I'm hopefully we're going to make it through some of what he gets into and trying to address that part. But for him to just outright say like, oh yeah, it's our intuition that these are angels. Why would you ever have apologetics about this topic if it was such a straightforward reading, bro? Like
exactly. Yeah, like there's a reason why the ancient people fixated on these topics and ideas so much, right?
In the 1st century, 2nd century Christians were like, okay, we're gonna figure this out, guys. How did this work?
Yeah.
And they I don't think they liked it. I don't think they're
the Christians.
It's my hot take.
Oh, I don't know. I think
they probably really fascinated by it, but doing that work, I have my doubts.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know the contents of their brains, but
I always tend to think that the early Christians were a lot less chill about some of a lot of these things than we modern people certainly are. They also probably didn't worry as much, fret as much about like logical problems or
no, not
you
even
know,
close. No.
no, they're just like, oh, I don't know, whatever. I'll figure, it'll
But that's
get
not to say
sorted out.
that's not to say that ancient people were stupid. I really get
Not at
now I get
all.
really
They just
upset when
the
people think that.
priorities.
Like
Yeah,
there's this
just priorities.
modernist, bias, like, oh, we're so fucking smart because we have all these advances
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like, no, these like for the time there were incredible thinkers and inventors and the authors of these texts. Like, it just how we understand intelligence needs to shift, not an implicit bias that these people, just because they didn't evaluate their beliefs the same way we do now, doesn't make them any less intelligent.
Yeah. Good word, Nitty. Appreciate it.
In chapters 6 and 7 of the book of Enoch, there's a group of angels called the Watchers. Okay, I'll put the names of their leaders on screen. There are 200 of these angels, and they're identified as by their heads or leaders here. And you can see, so chapter 6 starts off by narrating how this group of angels is lusting after human women as they're multiplying on the earth. And so what happens is they swear an oath together on Mount Hermon to carry out their plan, and then they do so. And in the process, they're not only defiling the women, but they're also teaching them various kinds of magic. And the result is that the women get pregnant and bear these great giants.
Yeah.
3,000 elves.
Yeah, this is where we're going to get, things are going to get wild.
Yeah. So, but I feel like I've got to well, first of all, I feel like we need to look at this text in
oh yeah, throw that up
Enoch.
there here.
Let me
I got about
let me pull it
maybe
up.
30 minutes. So hopefully,
okay.
hopefully we'll crack into
So I think, like I
thing that I
said
wanna
too, I
do.
think we might need to continue.
We'll see.
I think that's here it is. I'll zoomify it. And biggin it. If I can find it.
Biggin.
Where is it? There it is.
I actually have a Marvel card around here called Biggin. It's a Miss Marvel card.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is this is chapter 6, called The Fall of the Angels. This is Charlesworth's translation. And this is the Slavonic Book of Enoch, which is probably most scholars will say this is like the earliest layer of the Book of Enoch, what's often called the Book of the Watchers. So we'll just read chapter 6. It's pretty short. In those days, when the children of man had multiplied, it happened that there were born unto them handsome and beautiful daughters. And the angels, they're angels here now, the children of heaven saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, although I will say, I think this is probably, this is potentially the translator, because this text was, even though it survives in Greek, it was written in Aramaic, and I'll show you some stuff from that. They saw and desired them, and they said to one another, come, let us choose wives for ourselves from among the daughters of man and beget us children.
Wait,
it's very
should
similar.
Wives also be women there? Because in what way is this a marital union other than copulation?
Well, right? That's how they did it.
But I mean, fucking hell.
So,
I know what you mean,
but that's it is.
When we read wife, it carries a lot more baggage.
It sure does.
So now I think as more modern readers, we should be going back and saying, okay, there's no way in which this functions in the same way as we mean wife now. So what's a better way to translate this so that we are capturing the meaning of what these beings are trying to accomplish?
No,
right?
It's an important point, and I think it's best to the angels aren't getting into relationships with the women, right? They're not doing long-term planning here. We're going to build a house and we'll have a family, and I'll smite demons.
They're on
and,
Heaven
you'll
Bumble.
wash
Like,
the clothes. And,
which
yeah.
one is going to be a good eternal partner for me? Here, look
Yeah,
at
exactly.
we've got Ruthia. Ruthia? Yeah, Ruthia. She's looking pretty good.
No, they're just horny. Honestly, that's happening here. So and they all have at this point in time, they all have names. Here, we'll get to these. So Semyaz, being their leader, said to them, I fear that perhaps you will not consent that this deed should be done, and I alone will become responsible for this great sin. But they all responded to him, let us all swear an oath and bind everyone among us by a curse, not to abandon this suggestion, but to do the deed. Then they all swore together and bound one another by the curse. And they were altogether 200, and they descended into Ardos, which is the summit of Hermon. And they called the mount Armon, for they swore and bound one to one another by a curse. And their names are as follows: Semyaz, the leader of Arakev, Ramiel, Tamael, Ramel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakiel, Asel, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakeel, Zasomasp, El, Kestar El, Zutur El, Yamayol, and Arazial. These are their chiefs of 10, and all the others with them. And then I'll just read chapter 7 here. And they took wives unto themselves, and everyone, respectively, chose one woman for himself, and they began to go unto them. And they taught them magic,
monogamy,
medicine. Yeah. Well, it does say that, doesn't it? It does say that they each respectively chose one for himself. That was, but that's
no,
a development,
no angelic
right?
seconds.
No. That's different, because it says in Genesis chapter 6, it says they took women from whomever they chose, literally. So it didn't set any limits on that. So they taught them magical medicine, incantations, and cutting of roots, and taught them about plants. And the women became pregnant and gave birth to great giants whose heights were 300 cubits. These consumed the produce of all the people until the people detested feeding them. This is a fairly common trope in antiquity and cross-culturally too, right? The idea that there were giants on the earth in ages
Attack
past,
on Titan
and
was a documentary.
Yeah, totally. But one of the things that's really interesting to me is this idea that's common among them, that they literally they consumed all the resources because they were so big and required so much to sustain themselves. So the giants turned against the people, and that's another part of this too, is that the giants ate the people. They turned against the people in order to eat them, and they began to sin against birds, wild beasts, reptiles, and fish. That means they were doing sexy stuff with them, and their flesh was devoured the one by the other.
Damn Florida
and they
women.
drank blood. And then the earth brought an accusation against the oppressors. It's a wild story. It's very cool.
You still can't make OnlyFans like those.
That's true. Very true. But I want to do some show and tell though, because this is cool.
Bro,
so,
you can't show us the Grok imagines of this. That'll get us.
I don't know
kicked
what
off.
that is. No, that's okay. What the Grok imagines. No, I won't do that. I
wonder what would happen if you. No, yeah, I do, and I
know.
don't wonder
No.
what would happen if you put those passages in as prompts.
Yeah, right. That would be not so good. All right. So this first one here that I'm going to show you is a copy this is probably the largest fragment from one of the manuscripts. I have to put it on the stage, don't I? It's not there yet. This is probably the largest fragment from one of the manuscripts of the Book of Enoch in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It dates to the early 1st century, or maybe 2nd century, even late 2nd century BCE. It's pretty old, but what we're looking at here, and I'll zoom in on it, which I think is pretty damn cool. Right here is the part right there, is the part where they're naming all the angels, all the divine beings, right at the end of chapter 6 and the beginning of chapter 7 there. That's right here in this column, written in Aramaic, which is pretty cool. Sadly, something that we don't have in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we got lots of these copies of the Book of Enoch, but something that we don't have in the Dead Sea Scrolls is a preservation of of any of chapter 6 at all, like the first part of chapter 6 where they come down and they see the women are beautiful and they decide to have sex with them. It picks up like literally just after that, and that part's missing. So that's fun. But there's I wanted to show this other text, because this is one that Gavin doesn't talk about. I'm sure there's a good chance that he just doesn't even know it. But actually first, before I do that, let's listen to him first. He's gonna talk about some of these New Testament texts here. So we'll continue to listen to him for a little bit more before I show some other manuscripts. Right, I have to be on the other thing to press play. Okay.
Or cubits sometimes. There is an enormous, probably symbolic height that you can see on screen. And then as the narrative unfolds, I
don't know how symbolic. I mean lots of these things are symbolic, but it's also in some of these like dramatically fantastical stories, like they wanted people to imagine that they like these creatures were gigantic, right? Like yeah.
But angels like Michael and Raphael and others notice what's happened, and they bring this to the attention of the Lord, and in response, God announces the judgment of the flood. So you have the same idea here of this horrifying transgression of boundaries, resulting in this grotesque evil, violating the shalom of God's creation, needing to be wiped clean with judgment so that humanity can start over. And the flood of Noah is then described as a kind of cleansing and healing of the earth. This takes us to Jude and 2 Peter, where we find reference to angelic sin, and it's cast as
again,
staying within
that's
their
all just making that assumption. I'm sure if Dan were here, he would say the same thing. This is all just making the assumption that there was a stable tradition that those two things have the relationship that these authors say they have. But
yeah, I think maybe to be fair, I think maybe by the time these texts are written, like in Jude and 2 Peter, which are pretty like late 1st century CE, maybe even 2nd century CE, I think by that time you could see this as the stable surviving tradition.
Sure. And now we're stuck with it.
Yeah, and but as we have been pointing out this entire time, like there's this whole prehistory that Gavin's just ignoring about these texts, the original.
Well, and he kind of fesses up to it looking like the historical narratives in the time period it's proposed that those traditions existed, but then hand waves them away when he comes to what we now accept as the tradition. But anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay.
One position of authority there in Jude 6, but rather leaving their proper dwelling. You see that language from Jude verse 6 there on the screen. Now, this language again suggests boundary violation, right? And the very next verse actually draws a comparison with Sodom and Gomorrah and the sexual immorality and unnatural desire of that sin in Jude 7. These passages
Which is,
may
I'll
echo-
just point this out. This is also an interpretive move on the part of the biblical writers, like on the part of Jude, which is not inherent in
Right.
the story of Sodom.
Because
The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, it features this incident when the men of the city want to have sex with Lot's visitors. But the shocking part of it, it's not like, ew, gross, you're gay. That's not
right.
the point
You
of the
want the
story.
butt
That's not the
stuff?
great. Yeah, no, that's not it. It's because it's because of injustice and a lack of hospitality, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a
they are,
domination thing.
yeah,
not
it's
a-
domination. They're seeking to treat these people, as they should not be treated. I bring this up in the book, the one that I wrote, that we actually have like a Middle Assyrian law code, one of the rulings in the Middle Assyrian law code for I think it's treason. I think it's treason. The man is to be taken into the center of the square, and his punishment for treason is to be basically like anally penetrated by all the men of the town, right? Like, I think
Whoa.
that's sort of the context of what's in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where that's what's so heinous about this is that this is not how you should treat someone who is your guest in the city. They're treating these outsiders like they're criminals. That's the bad part of it. It's not ew butt stuff. It's different than that. So
That's one case
anyway.
where you wonder if the death penalty for treason is better.
Yeah, I don't know, right? I guess I don't know.
I'm just,
I'm not. Yeah, I'm gonna press play.
yeah.
The Enochic reading, especially since Jude is certainly aware of the book of Enoch, since he quotes it in verses
He
14 and
does
15.
that too.
And you've also got 2 Peter 2:4, which seems to parallel Jude 6. And this text discusses the sinful activity of angels immediately prior to Noah and the flood. So reading these New Testament passages, it's plausible to see a reference to Genesis 6 here. Jack Collins,
Oh
who has a
man,
really helpful book on
humanity
the early
has
chapters.
a wild question. So what's the reason for Lot to offer his daughters instead?
That is
Ooh.
how important, because it's so important that you're looking after outsiders within this culture. That's just how that's the level of value that Lot set on that. He's willing to give up his own, the value of his own daughters, to basically completely devalue them, because that's what it would do in this context.
But he was the one righteous guy, Kip. I mean,
but this is part of righteousness, right? That is a huge sacrifice for him, because
my
fuck whatever they
God.
want, right? Because he is sacrificing their value as commodities, their sexual utility is part of his assets, his holdings. He's sacrificing that,
Hey,
for the
Justin,
sake
if
of
you're
the safety of his
watching,
guests.
here's a whole new thing for you to do on your debates. Just oh goodness.
Lot's daughters.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So Chuck's,
wow.
yeah, you're exactly picking this up. His hospitality knows no bounds. Like, it's yeah, and so I mean, that's the thing, right? You can't think, if you're reading these I think it's very important for us as modern people to look at these texts and read them with the recognition of how far we've come, morally speaking, ethically speaking, but then also recognize that they just, like, so many of these are just questions that they did not even pose at that time. It wasn't. And of course, it's I think it's hyperbolic in the sense that the people who heard this story recognize that this is very, very much not a real thing that happened or could have happened or would have happened. Everything is just exaggerated. So
For real. I mean, woof.
For
I
real.
never thought of it that way either. He went all Japheth on it.
yeah, exactly.
And
I
she's got to
wanted
be fine
to,
with it. I mean,
yeah, I wanted to show. So I wanted to bring up something else because I think it's very cool. We have these other traditions that he's been talking about from Enoch and from Jubilees, and how the New Testament writers knew this stuff, and this was being infused into the background of their own writings. There's other stuff that they probably knew that we now know that for a long time we didn't, thanks to the Dead Sea Scrolls. And, like, in addition to, like, the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, there's this other one called the Book of the Giants. Now we knew, I'll say scholars knew about the Book of the Giants prior to the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls because it survived thanks to the Manichaeans. The Manichaeans are like 3rd century. I think it's 3rd century CE Persian or Iranian group that was kind of like a hybrid of Persian and Christian and Jewish religious traditions. And they had a copy of this Book of the Giants in their scriptures. Looks quite different from the one that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but they're similar enough that we know they're closely related. So, they had this text, and scholars had an inkling that it probably went back to, the Second Temple period. And wouldn't you know it, there are copies of the Book of the Giants at Qumran that are written in Aramaic. One of the things, and the Book of the Giants is this really interesting story that focuses on the giants. Like the stuff we read from First Enoch focuses on what we the text calls the Watchers. These are like the angels who came down to have relationships with the women, the earthly women. The Book of the Giants, their entire focus is on the giants themselves, like the offspring of this union. And it's just very interesting. But one of the really cool things, and I'll show this picture here because I think this is especially fun. So I'll show some pictures of a couple of fragments here. And like in the Book of the Giants, the way it kind of unfolds is that Enoch is given a vision about the end of the world, about the flood, right? And he tells the vision to the giants, and the giants are in the process of committing all this terrible evil stuff, as mentioned in like the biblical text and in the Book of Enoch as well. So it's sort of centered on this, this communication between Enoch and these giants. So there's a couple of fragments that I want to show here from one of the copies. This is 4Q5. Let me see. I've got to get this right here. This is 4Q530, column 2. And one of the really interesting things about this particular text is in column 2. And I'll just see if I can let me zoom in on this here. So you have column 1 on the right side here. You read Hebrew from right to left. And then column 2 is on the left side. And in this text here, you have mention of, it's pretty wild, Gilgamesh, the great hero from the Book of Gilgamesh. And what's wild is that Gilgamesh is included as one of these giants, right? One of the terribly evil giants. So I'm just it's or is it here? It's down. Oh shoot. Why can't I see it? But I would point it out to you if I could see it clearly. But so there's another fragment here though too. This one is usually situated right beside the one that I just showed you. Why do these look? Do I have the right one? I think so. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's. Let me just double check. Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong. I pulled up the wrong fragment. God damn it.
Oh, look what
I'll show you this
did.
one. I'll show you this one. This one's better because it has all of them on it. It has everything I want to show you. So, oh no, I don't want to invite a guest. I want to show a picture. Sorry, I'm very good at this stuff, guys.
Learn where the buttons are.
All right. So this is an older picture. And this is what there's the fragment here. If we zoom in, this is fun.
Can't
right
see it yet.
on. Oh God, thanks. It's a good thing you're here, Nitty. So this is column 2, and on the second line, you've got it right there. It's the very first word on the right edge of the second line. It says Gilgamesh, which is just very cool. For those of you who can read Hebrew, the mem looks really weird in this particular manuscript. It just looks like a circle, which is odd. But now I'm going to move over to slide over a little bit to this fragment right beside it, and right with Gilgamesh, there's a couple of little ink traces that are on the second line on the right hand side. And the thought is that this is this actually says Chambasis, which is like a Hebraicized form of Humbaba, which was like the great giant of the forest that appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and he also is listed among the giants, which is very cool. And then in the Manichaean version, we don't have the actual fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls to correspond to this, but in the Manichaean version that survives, there's this other text. I'll just read it here. I won't put this up on the screen, where it talks about, it says, Sam, one of the giants, and this is the description of this figure. Then Sam said to the giants, "Come here, that we might eat and be happy. On account of sorrow, no bread was consumed. They slept. Mahawai went to Atambish and related everything." Again, Mahawai is one of the watchers that we actually also know from the book of Enoch. Again, Mahawai came. Sam saw a dream. He came up to heaven. Upon earth, fever broke out. All of the water was consumed. From the water, wrath went out. The tutelary spirits were invisible. He, that is Sam, beheld before him the ruler of heaven. And then it says, then a tumbish, 200, and then it's broken up here in places. He seized, he cut off, he smashed, and he tossed to the four ends of the earth and something. And then it says, and those three giants who were with Atumbish were slain. And he came before those watchers and giants who were with him. So Atumbish is interesting because it sounds like this potentially could be a Hebraicized form of Utnapishtim. Utumbish.
Okay.
Utnapishtim. So you've got Gilgamesh, you've got Humbaba, you've got Utnapishtim are all now included. These are all figures known from the Epic of Gilgamesh. And they're all now included in this Jewish text as like the actual giants who were, the offspring of the angels
This union,
cohabiting with the daughters of men. So I don't know.
Can we get through a little more, Gavin,
cool
to see if we can get the thing that I wanted to do before I have to screw out of here?
My apologies.
No, that was really cool, though. I didn't mean to cut it any shorter, but yeah,
no,
guys,
that's all right.
Where else are you going to learn that about the relationship to the Hebrew texts,
the Dead Sea
and the
Scrolls
ancient Near East,
and the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the ways that these people are sorting through and thinking through this stuff? It's so great.
That's because this channel is awesome. So
it's because why?
Because this channel is awesome. That's it.
Oh, that's it. That's true.
Yeah. Where'd Gavi go?
Oh, goddamn. Shoot. I'm watching.
Yay.
Okay. There he is. Let me back it up here a little bit. Okay.
From Justin Martyr. Others have argued for the same point from Tertullian, Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, and Origen. But Justin describes the boundaries that God has instituted at creation, with human beings overseeing creation under the oversight of angels. I'll just read this. But the angels transgressed this appointment and were captivated by love of women and begot children who are those that are called demons. And besides, they afterwards subdued the human race to themselves, partly by magical writings, and partly by fears and the punishments they occasioned, and partly by teaching them to offer sacrifices and incense and libations. It's later that the picture really changes with Augustine, who in the city of God.
Yeah.
This is a concession that Justin accepts some other traditions as spiritually authoritative. So that modern Christians should lose their shit over that. Right? Because Justin supplies for them a what I would say like a stake post for where they head doctrinally on various issues, right? And if such a prominent intellectual force within early Christian apologetics is accepting a text that you reject as spiritually authoritative, what does that say about your understanding of your own faith? Right?
These are kind of important questions to ask, aren't they? Yeah.
Right. What does that say about sola scriptura? What does that start to tell you or shape in your head about who were real Christians? Right? Because modern Christians are fine saying, well, if you start accepting these other texts, are you even really a Christian? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so like the gatekeeping would have to start excluding Justin Martyr. I don't think you want to pay that price usually, but
they don't like doing that.
Evangelical ignorance,
yeah,
and just hand waving by Gavin, right? Because if he wants to make that as a citation for what is happening through Genesis 6, 1 through 4, he's also giving credibility to those books that many Christians reject, right? So he has to borrow Justin's authoritative interpretation of that, accepted authority of that text as valid, while at the same time, I'm fairly certain that Gavin would reject the text as authoritative.
Are they,
So now
Nitty,
he's
are you
fine.
saying,
Oh my God.
are you saying they're borrowing from this heretical world, ancient worldview, to form their own?
Yes, and they're being completely inconsistent. I now but
Totally.
here's the thing. Gavin looks so sincere, right? And
Most of the time, yes.
he doesn't look like he's got some nefarious intent here, right? And so I honestly think that since he's devoted to the text, it's not like a noetic defect of sin or something.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to piece this part together while he's making this argument, right? So maybe it's like his part of his his framework, right, of looking at this stuff and not taking a step back and saying, well, if I start paying the price of citing this, what else am I taking on, right? And I hope the audience kind of is thinking about that, right? And if you're a Christian listening to this, like what is your thought with that, right? Like, you should tell us. Like, I want to know if you think that this is actually a problem for what you believe, right? But
yeah,
maybe it's not. Maybe one thing you could
ways
say
to navigate it, right? Is it or is it possible that certain texts or certain sections or fragments of text become authorized by virtue of the dependence of New Testament writers on them, or early church fathers?
But one lame excuse is that, well, he could have still been a true Christian, but he's over in this case, he's just, he doesn't quite understand what this text is, for, right? In this case, like, it's just his disposition to adopt it, when really, like, we can't question the sincerity of his faith, and we know Christians get this kind of Bible stuff wrong all the time. Then what gives us a guarantee that yours is right? Oh my God. Damn it. Soapboxy. Okay, so this last part that I wanted to talk about, and now I won't. We've got through actually a lot of the stuff that I was interested in talking about for my channel.
Okay.
So with your permission, I'm not sure
Yes.
how long I'll want to rant about this, but it's something that, as like a former Christian trying to engage this text,
I'm gonna make you big.
Oh my God. Ooh, I wasn't expecting this. So engaging this text, right? There are a lot of arguments you kind of lean on to, once you become a Christian and you walk into an apologetic space, there's arguments you lean on to maintain the coherence of what you believe as a Christian. And I'm sure, like, many people who were former Christians that watch this channel can completely identify with this, right? Especially if you were an ardent Bible reader, maybe like a lay apologist in the internet space, or your own congregation, or you tried discipleship and you read the Bible one-on-one with people. You encountered these problem passages, right? And you would probably reach for a video like Gavin's and maybe try to experience, and it would give you some comfort, right? You would feel like, okay, it seems to answer my questions. It seems to put things together in a way that makes sense with the rest of what I believe. So good, right? But I think when you try to put this in the context of other beliefs and that you carry around, other things that you're committed to, or other apologetics that you might employ, this text's problems just don't go away, and it will probably keep you up at night, right? If you start to put those things next to each other. And so, like, if you think about something like a teleological design argument for the existence of God, right? Whether or not you take this text very literally, or some kind of let's say you go for like the word I can't use interpretation, or these were actually some group of humans interpretation. I guess this won't apply to you, right? But if you lean on the side of biblical literalism, or even like the spiritual metaphysics of the ancient Near East, like the Justin Martyrs and Philo and Josephus and things like that, you are usually committed to some kind of idea that humans are a special creation, that we're specially designed by God, that the ways that we interact with nature and everything is unique. It's the pinnacle of God's creation, right? You get to the end of the days of creation, and God rested because he made the very good thing, man. Okay, let's say you really love that, you really believe it. Here's the thing. You also are committing yourself to believing that God created a creature in such a way that it can produce this offspring. And if God is all-knowing, he knows he's making a creature designed with the capability of doing this. Now, I'm not trying to get like super counter-apologetic here, Kip, but this is important, right? We do talk about on this channel sometimes how your beliefs interface with culture and all this other stuff, right? And I'm calling you to charge as like to how consistent is this, right? And pointing out the tension that you would experience from reading a text like this and how it walks into modern day, right? And so there's that, right? And on top of that, no matter which path you try to keep this historical, if you try to keep it historical by saying, well, sometimes angels could take human forms in order to act as they did with these women, that's still part of their constitution, their design. They're able to metamorphize. They're designed with the capability of metamorphosizing into such a creature that can do this with a woman, right? It doesn't get you out of the actual physical problems and claim of intelligent design, while at the same time maintaining some kind of literal interpretation here, because you are going to be committed to the idea that this was an intentional act by the creator of making a being with these faculties. Do angels gain new faculties as a result of the fall? Well, the text doesn't say that. Are you committed to that? Then are you inventing some new doctrines? Like, this is strange. Or because of the fall, did women gain this sinful capacity to bear children with heavenly beings? It gets really strange, doesn't it, when you have to try to make a coherent picture. And that is, I think, why Gavin is wrong when he says, well, our natural intuition is that these are divine beings, that this should be read as angels. I think there's a subconscious recognition that this is breaking the script that you're running while you're trying to believe this text as sincerely as you can. So that's what I really wanted to talk about, is that this, no matter what Gavin's going to say next about what these beings are capable of, whether they, transformers, angels in disguise, like whatever is going to happen here, it's not good, right? If they maintain some kind of constitution, and still able to impregnate. Does that happen by accident for a designer? Like, what?
There was all
penises. Like, I don't. Sorry.
As you can see, like there was like a lot. There's still like 6 minutes left, and there's stuff that we didn't get into, right? Like with this question of physicality versus spirituality, which I think is really important. And if you wanna tackle that with me at a later time, I'm all for that.
What do you think? What are your impressions about what I had to say, Kip? Like, give the audience that at least before we gotta.
So No, I think that was I'm gonna have to go here fairly quick too. There was one more thing that I wanted to show, and then I'm gonna shut her
Oh,
down.
we
But
should
no,
answer
that
that
was all.
question real fast
That
too.
which one is that? Where is it?
The screenshotted one from that we sent.
Oh
I
yeah.
believe.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
and
Right.
Simone
Yeah.
sent it.
So
Yeah, yeah.
no, I
But
think
your reaction to that.
I think it's important, and I think it all comes back to whatever your relationship to the text is going to have some really fundamental implications for like a lot of the ways that you manage to do or do your religion or maintain like your philosophical outlook or and such, right? Like a number of people have pointed out in the chat that like Gavin is committed to this univocal perspective of the text and to understand that this is all stuff that's real, right? Like that has happened. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Isn't because then you have to sort out how all of it fits together and works together when there's just a whole bunch of stuff in the text that fucking doesn't. It doesn't.
Right.
And
there's so much freeing in just being like, this text is what it is. And it's a window into something that's great to look, to study and to engage with. But you do lose that when you're dogmatic. But
you totally do. You totally do. All right. So I'm gonna take them off. I'm gonna put up this this one that you sent me here.
Screenshotted it for us too.
Okay, thanks, Simone. I think it's this one. Yeah. All right. So okay, I think we can all see that, right? As Baal rules from Mount Zaphon, so too does Yahweh rule from Zion. He is a god of the mountains who, in the stories from Exodus, resides on Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai. God equals sun. The angels of God are the rays of the sun. The demons are negative. Yeah, okay. No, not that. So Tanusi continues, Dr. Kip, could you say a little bit about Yahweh and Baal being Mount God rivals? And yes, this is an important point. Thank you for bringing it up, Tanusi. So we know quite a bit about Baal from the texts at Ugarit, which is quite a ways up in the north of Syria, up the Mediterranean coast. But I think I mentioned earlier that Baal rules from Mount Zaphon. Yahweh rules from Mount Zion. When the Hebrew Bible texts were written, it's probably at a point in time in which, you know, the worship of Baal and a lot of the imagery within the worship of Baal is being co-opted by the Yahweh worshipers, and they are situating these two figures as rivals of one another. Whether or not they actually were in any texts other than those collected by Israel into the Hebrew Bible, that's extremely speculative. It's I think probably not. But this competition as mountain deities was so significant for the Hebrew writers of the Bible, right? That this term, like this Mount Zaphon, is something that you actually see in a number of biblical texts and attributed to Yahweh. Like this is now his mountain. And the reason for that is because it's a way of trying to co-opt as much of this Baal literature as possible. So I talk a fair bit about this again in the book. If you haven't got the book
Kip
yet,
Davis has written Nope.
You can get it in hardcover, paperback, ebook, and audiobook. But there was one more thing that I wanted to do Whoops, I did not that. That's not what I wanted to do. There was one more thing that I wanted to do. The reason why Gavin made this video in the first place was because I think he's pushing back on these more naturalistic interpretations of the sons of God as human beings, right? And he says something here about how this originated with Augustine. I had a couple of brief things to say about this, and then we'll shut this down.
God favors the Sethite view, and then that interpretation becomes.
So I'm just going to back this up a little bit, where he starts talking about Augustine and the promotion of the so-called Sethite view
For sacrifices and incense and libations. It's later that the picture really changes with Augustine, who in the city of God favors the Sethite view. And then that interpretation becomes pretty dominant in the tradition at that point for a long time. And today, let's just keep repeating this point that many serious scholars hold that view, the Sethite view, as well as the royal view. And there are strong points that can be made in favor of those views as well.
So before I continue, I just want to say no. There are not any serious scholars who hold to this view that the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6 are human beings.
Ruh-roh.
just
That's
not.
actually a view that I was more friendly with when I was discipling people, which is funny as hell.
Yeah, of course. It's a very popular apologetic view, but no serious scholars, none, are promoting this idea. Why? Because we can read the text, and we can read the text in the context of the rest of the ancient Near East, in the context of the rest of the Bible. And it's just so abundantly clear that
what you're also not saying is that these are the same category of being as angel, right? If I understand right.
They're not. They're gods.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gods.
I think that's the main takeaway for anyone here. If you missed a bunch of this, the main takeaway is we agree with Gavin. These aren't people.
Yes.
But we don't agree with Gavin. These are not angels.
Exactly. So, and I just wanted to finish up with this because, like, this is just how silly some of this stuff gets.
The vast majority of 20th century exegetes held to the idea that the sons of God were the godly line of Seth, and the daughters of men were the ungodly line of Cain. This idea has largely fallen out of favor for its negative portrayal of women. There is also
I don't think that's true either. I think that idea has fallen out of favor because we've gained a strong appreciation for the scholarship. We recognize the ways in which these texts functioned within a wider network in antiquity. Like I said, we can read. That's why that view fell out of favor, not because it was denigrating to women. I mean, for God's sake, for so many years, nobody cared about that.
I know.
That,
you think
that's not
was
why.
like, well, I mean, we got to really think about the ladies here.
Yeah. So,
an urban-rural interpretation of this passage, where the sons of God are seen as pastoralists, whereas the daughters of men are seen as city dwellers that are encroaching on the territory of the pastoralists. Now, the view I take towards this passage is a marked departure from all these views, since Genesis 1 to 11 is primarily about a religious and ritual prolegomena for the Israelites. I've taken to reading Genesis 6, 1 to 4 in light of cults and the literature of the late Bronze Age. Now, the sons of God is...
importantly, it's not a Bronze Age text. It's pretty late. Genesis chapter 6 is written well after the Babylonian exile. So
they're just assuming Moses was sitting down with God.
Yeah. So, and
repeating
I think
himself,
that's
and
part of the reason why Falk gets this so goddamn wrong is because he's trying to shoehorn this into, a Bronze Age Egyptian context where it just has no business belong. It doesn't belong there.
Often debated.
I actually
first,
need
second
to
period literature and the book.
Are you gonna run?
Are you?
Yeah, because the kids are done
I gotta
with the movie. But you finish up.
Okay.
You do your thing.
Thank you very much for coming and hanging out, Nitty. It was fun. So, and I'm gonna be off here probably in 5 minutes too. So,
well, thank you guys.
See you later.
Yeah, that's Nitty.
That's Nitty. Oh, I gotta do. There we go. That was good. And then I shrink myself. There we go. Just finishing up with this.
Usually rendered as sort of spirit beings. They could be either, say, Elohim, or these sort of minor deities that are lower and created by Yahweh. Sometimes they're rendered as angels. However, the term can have other meanings too, including humans. But the daughters of man, that one's really interesting and really special, because it does that the term men here isn't to men in general, but to a specific man, Adam. So this should
That is just absolutely fundamentally incorrect. Just fundamentally incorrect. And the reason why we know that is because in Genesis 6, chapter 1, it says that the sons of Ha-Adam, the man or mankind, began to increase on the face of the ground. Yeah, it's not about Adam.
be properly rendered daughters of Adam.
No.
Man here is in the singular.
No.
Adam, a man. This is
Which
really
just doesn't matter, because the term is used ubiquitously throughout the biblical text to refer to all humankind.
unusual for this type of affectation.
Not at
but
all
this
unusual.
suggests that the meanings of son of and daughter of is not just straight that these are created from, say, God or Adam as such. And given the cultic significance of Genesis 1 through 11, this suggests that these are castes of priests. And examples
No.
of this abound in the Bronze Age.
So that is easily the worst interpretation of this text that I've probably ever heard. But yeah, I just wanted to finish on that note, because it's I mean that's just how silly some of this stuff gets. But I really need to get out of here because my next show is starting in 10 minutes. Head over there, watch me and Maddie and Craig from FDFE and the dinosaur and Jordan from Reason to Doubt playing Star Trek Endurance. We're starting in 10 minutes. That's on Dapper's channel, his alternate channel, Top Hats Off. Tomorrow I'll be back, and we'll see if Vish is back. She's gonna let us know later today. It might just be Dapper and me, or maybe Dapper, me, and Chesh. But we'll be back on his main channel tomorrow at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern, for another episode of Dapper Reacts. And then next week it's just the usual stuff. I'm back for another episode of Kitty Breach on Thursday. We'll be doing another live stream, and Vish will definitely be back for that on Friday. And then there will be another installment of Budget Scripture Saturday. So thanks everyone for coming and hanging out and enjoying this afternoon with me. I hope y'all learned some things and had some fun. So as always, be good, look after one another, stay safe, and outros are down here. You know how this goes. As always, hot take 5.